Recorded live from the engine room in Broad Ripple, this is the Voices of Indy podcast hosted by Josh Gillespie. Voices of Indy is a show dedicated to giving you the opportunity to know the musical, visual, and theatrical arts of Indianapolis, Indiana. And today's show is sponsored by Indianapolis Independent Entertainment. IIE LLC's goals is to help local DIY artists, freelancers, and businesses within Indianapolis by establishing a network of creatives who can connect with each other to generate more paying opportunities. Their goal is to eliminate some of the intimidating barriers within the entertainment industry and expand the local art and music scenes in Indianapolis. If you're interested, you can learn more about IIE by visiting their website at www.indyent.com. That's INDYINDIEENT.com, and fill out a free application to discuss how you and IIE can redefine making it together. And so I want to get on to this week's guest, the lovely Anna Owens. She is a singer, songwriter, and, yes, a rapper. That may surprise you. But if you know one thing that you may not know about Anna is that you won't know it if you haven't heard her debut album, Heartbeat. But she can drop some pretty good bars. And so I'm very excited to be talking with you. This is a pleasure. And we will get to the dope rhymes, as the kids say.
Yes. The kids do say that.
Do they? Anyway, allow me to show my age. No, but thank you for being on the show, Anna. I really do appreciate it. So first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself. We're gonna start off with the standard questions. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What should people know about Anna Owens?
Straight off the bat.
Straight off the bat. No, I don't hold back. I go soft, but I don't hold back.
Okay. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on here.
Oh, you're welcome.
I've been so excited to be on here.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
I'm excited to have you on.
So, I'm 17. I grew up homeschooled. I grew up in Indiana my entire life. And what else to add? I do music.
You do music? That's a good call. That's the reason why you're here. So tell me a little bit about your music. What got you into music? How early did you start? I mean, you're only 17. You already have an album out. You're working on you finished album number 2. You're about ready to release it. I mean, not many teenagers can say that they have 2 albums under their belt who are actual artists. So how did you get into music?
So I think I started around 12 to 13.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was around the age that I started. Because I don't remember when I actually had, like, an exact beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it wasn't like there was, like, a magical moment and then, like, I, like, picked up the guitar. I wish there was, but there wasn't.
I was looking for we could play over the music, this magic moment. Oh, hopefully I sang that off tune enough that we don't get copyright violations. Anyway, go ahead.
So I remember I've always been interested in art. So
Mhm.
I love art and I love writing, and I've always been very invested into, like, the visual art. And so it's kind of, like, surprising me now that I'm doing music, because I think when I was younger, I was like, oh, maybe I'll be a journalist, or I'll be like an artist, like an actual visual artist.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little bit surprised that I'm doing music now, because I don't think my younger self would expect it. So I can't remember exactly what point it crossed over to music, but I remember when I picked up guitar, it was because I wanted to write songs.
Mm-hmm.
So it was when I picked it up, I kind of just messed around in my room by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my dad taught me my first couple of chords too, and I kind of learned how to play a few covers. And then I think I was keeping up with the fact that I started to, like, take lessons, and
Mm-hmm.
it started to sort of I really got I can't. So I was like writing on my own, so it was kind of like a
Mhm.
hobby.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, I wasn't taking it seriously, and I'm not sure how much of it I understood, because it was just like, because I mean, I watched people on YouTube too, because
Yeah.
there was, like, you know, what's really cool is that they have all these songwriters online,
Yes.
and then you can just sort of find, like, these, like, little niches. And then I remember I was watching some songwriters on YouTube. Like, I think it was, like, more folk music.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, at the time, I didn't realize that's what it was, because, like, I went into, like, my guitar lesson, and my teacher was like, what do you want to learn? I was like, country music? I think that's what it's called. And then I think now looking
Uh-huh.
back, I'm like, that was folk music that I was trying to learn how to play.
Well, country music came from folk music, so
I'm
you're all
It's
good.
really kind of funny because
Yeah,
I don't like country music.
I don't either. So we're on the same
Okay,
plane here. Yeah.
we're gonna burn some people
We
that are
might,
listening.
we might. I'll take it back. There are a couple. Whoop, wrong camera angle. There we go. There are a couple artists that I don't mind.
Johnny Cash, he's alright.
Thank you. He is fantastic. The Man in Black. I absolutely adore Johnny Cash. I would
Well,
highly recommend reading Cash by Johnny Cash, the autobiography,
okay.
because it is a trip. Uh, you get everything out of Johnny Cash in that book. It's a fantastic book. Um, but I also enjoy a couple songs by the Zac Brown Band.
My friend is really into him. I'm not sure if you've met him, but Joe Shelton is like a local
I do know who
musician.
Joe Shelton is.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, Joe
yes.
Shelton. He's my friend that knows things that I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
which is like so he tells me everything about musicians that I don't know because I'm not like I don't have mainstream taste.
Okay. No,
So
that's all right. No, that's
so then
that's all right.
our friendship just consists of him telling me that I should know something. But he's a fantastic musician. He does like Americana and
Mm-hmm.
he has a similar sound to like Zach Brown band too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, no.
I
It's that.
associate it with him now.
Okay. Well, that's a good association, though. That's a good association to have. I can't say that I like everything that they do, but they're
What? No.
no
You
right.
have to like everything an artist does.
That's what I was always raised to believe. No, it's heck, there are albums, whole albums by my favorite band that I'm just like, I'll take a pass on that one.
Mm.
And it's a bit rough, but it was in the later years, so there's reason for that. Anyway, um, so you were kind of picking up on folk music originally.
That's kind of like my first love. No.
Mm-hmm. No, sure. Like Alison Krauss or that kind of. I'm getting a blank face.
Mm,
You don't know who Alison Krauss is?
it sounds familiar. See,
Oh,
see, I was already preempting that where this person's gonna be like, you don't know what that is.
no, no, no. That's okay. Okay. I mean, I don't think everybody who's going to be listening to this show is going to know who Alison Krauss is.
It sounds familiar. So, I mean, I've probably heard it in like a conversation before.
Have you seen the movie "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou"? No. Okay.
If I have, then I don't remember.
Okay. You'd remember. It's kind of a modern retelling of the Odyssey, and so the main character who's played by George Clooney, his name's Ulysses. It kind of goes into this whole thing. There's sirens, there's a cyclops, but it takes place in like 1930s America,
Hmm.
and it's a fantastic movie and a killer soundtrack with it's all folk, like
Okay.
old school folk. But Alison Krauss sings on it, and so does her band Union Station. And the big song that came out of that movie was "Man of Constant Sorrow," and it was actually her band Union
That sounds
Station.
like a familiar song. I feel like
I'm
I've
sure
heard
you
that.
would
I
probably
feel like
actually
I've heard that.
recognize that. If you heard it, you'd recognize it. And they Union Station was the band that sang that song. So when George Clooney and the other characters go to record a song, as they say, sing in this man's can, which literally was singing into a can. Um, but when he starts singing, that's not George Clooney singing. It's the guys from Union Station. But Alison Krauss, who's also a tremendous fiddle player, just otherworldly, honestly, and has a killer voice. Uh, they do folk music, and that's kind of their thing, and that's a lot of banjo and slide guitar, and so that's what I think of when I think of folk.
No. Don't think
No,
about none of that.
it's not. That's not you. That's not what you're
I'm
doing.
inspired though. I think I might go watch
You
that
should.
film.
Well, one, you should totally check out the movie, and you should totally check out Alison Krauss and Union Station if you're really in. Like, if
That was like a really you have me there, so maybe I'll go check it
well, you
out.
should. You should. No, absolutely. Um, but Alison, I think, if I remember correctly, Alison Krauss might make a cameo in that movie. Not that it matters. You won't
I
recognize
won't
her.
recognize her.
No, but like her and Emmylou Harris. and someone else actually sing on the soundtrack for the scene with the sirens when they're singing uh, to the main characters. It's actually Alison Krauss and Emmylou Harris and the third person who I've forgotten. Um, but they're all so very catchy. All the songs are just so fun and so catchy. But yeah, that's about as folk as I can get. I mean, there's even more folk. Like if you go down the folk rabbit hole that you could go, that I'm just not willing to go.
You have limits.
I do have limits. Like yeah, like so my a long time ago, my wife got this album by a folk artist by the name of Tim O'Brien, and it's it's true authentic Americana folk, like from the 1860s, and I'm just like, okay, I can only take so many songs about grist mills. So I don't even think anybody writes songs about grist mills anymore, or they even exist. But I don't even know what it is. But I've heard enough songs about it that okay, I've had my fill. So when it comes up on my shuffle, I just hit skip. Anyway, so but back to you. We're not talking about folk
Hey,
music
I'm gonna
and
go watch the movie.
no, you absolutely should watch Oh Brother Where Art Thou. So what I mean, as a teenager, okay, so are you still homeschooled?
Yes.
Okay. Where do you perform? Like, I mean, so you're not performing at like an all school gathering unless you're in a co-op. Are you in a co-op?
No, I'm
Okay.
not.
Okay, so where do you perform? Where do you perform your songs?
So actually, just because, like I was saying, I was like doing like sort of like a hobby, so I was like I didn't really want to perform in front of people. So I remember one time like my uncle came over, and at that point I was just like learning, and then so my mom asked me like play him a song, and
Mm-hmm.
so she kind of like, but you're in the moment, so you kind of have to like you have to do it even if you don't want to perform. So then like I very like poorly performed like this song, and like
Was it one
just
of yours?
no, it wasn't. It was at
Okay.
that point I was just doing covers.
Okay.
So and just sort of like writing like little bits and pieces. So then like afterwards I was like asking my mom about it. I was like I didn't want to do that, and she was like, "Well, what were you expecting to play in a closet your entire life?" And then I was like, "Okay, that's a good point."
So you have a supportive family, a good structure there to kind of encourage you in your music
Yeah.
adventure.
So then what happened was that there was this fine arts contest for a competition that like for like the local churches.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point I hadn't like performed on a stage like anything. I'd been like open mics I think to just like watch people
Mm-hmm.
and just to like cuz I enjoyed it. Like
Yeah.
you enjoy just going out and experiencing art. So then I decided that I was going to do it, so I signed up, and I signed up for two categories, which is songwriting and rap solo. And I remember I was so nervous, like painfully nervous, like weeks beforehand type of nervous where
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like anticipating this like if you're like failing before you get on stage, that's what I was doing. So then I decided my first open mic that I did was I decided I was gonna go Sam Ash, which Sam Ash used to have an open mic on like Wednesday nights.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, but it
Like the
didn't.
one in Castleton?
Yeah,
Really? I didn't know that.
yeah. Well, it didn't have anyone going to.
Oh, okay. That's probably why I didn't know about it.
I thought all open mics were like that, where they have like two people there, and well,
No, there
most
are some.
some of them are like that, but
Well, sure, but there are some like some gangbusters open mics. No, just got a lot of people showing up.
yeah,
Yeah.
no. So like, I think at that point I hadn't like experienced like community. So
Mm-hmm.
at that point I was just like, I went up the stage and like the open mic went like really well because like that was me performing my two original songs. So I kind of like, I wrote two to perform. I find it harder to like. I have to have like some sort of performance or certain type of people that I'm trying to like address.
Mm-hmm.
So most time that's what like pushes over the song.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point I had to go finish the songs. So then I went to the fine arts contest the same week, and I did such a terrible job on the songwriting thing, like straight up like choked on stage.
No.
Like every time I think about it now, I'm just like, oh no, just
Oh no. That you're making me think of another movie reference.
Just
That I don't know. There's it's it, I'm going to assume the answer to this question is no.
8 Mile.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. No,
Have you seen it?
I've seen 8 Mile.
You've seen 8 Mile,
Yes.
but you haven't seen Oh Brother Where Art. Okay, so you've seen 8 Mile. So that scene, that's what it's making me think of when Eminem chokes.
Oh, he just goes
Uh,
up and say, well, I didn't technically choke. I performed my song. I was just not confident, like, at all.
mm-hmm.
And I didn't. Okay, so here's what happened. They had a microphones, but at that point, I was not comfortable enough to move around to grab myself a microphone.
Okay.
So I went up there without a microphone or plugging myself in, which would have
Oh,
helped my performance so much more.
probably would have.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
then just
unfortunate.
nervously like looking out to the crowd. I remember like the faces in the crowd. I'm just like,
Well, I think everyone has that kind of performance at least once in their lives. I mean, especially the very beginning. I
yeah.
mean, they're just fumbling up onto stage and like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I mean, I can't tell how many times I've like broken strings and just
I haven't broken
or
a string yet.
okay.
I'm waiting though.
Oh no, it'll happen. But there were times. Okay, so I was a worship leader at my old church, and I forgot the words to the doxology. Like, you know, you gotta sing that, and so I had to lead everybody in doing it, and I was doing it a cappella because I was like, I'm all cool and all. Uh, but I completely blanked
Oh
on
no.
how the song actually went,
No, I hate when that happens.
and I'm like, this is like a two-line song. Completely forgot it. How in the world does this happen? I sing it every week, but I forgot it. So yeah, and I've been singing for years at that point.
That happens.
That happens.
That
See, yeah,
happens. The lines just disappear from your head.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even tunes, just basic tunes. Uh, Not sure I could sing it right now. No, I could, but not necessary.
Well, I'll put you on the spot. What
No,
are
I'm
the
not. We're
lines right
not putting
now?
on. No, we're not going on the spot right now. Not for that. Not for that. So, yeah. Okay. You casually glossed over this in your story there that you entered into the rap category. Um, can we talk about that just
Okay.
real quick? Uh, what got you into rap, and how did you start incorporating that into your music? Because seriously, it's like maybe what 4 or 5 of the songs on Heartbeat have a breakdown where you're just dropping rhymes left and right, and like you're dropping some knowledge bombs there. Like no lie, you really are. Like you have a writing style that I think is not expected for someone of your age.
Ah,
So I mean that as a compliment.
thank you.
I hope you took it as a
Thank you.
compliment.
That's kind of you to say.
Okay, no. Now you're just humoring me. No, but seriously, how did you get into rapping?
I remember the first rap I wrote. I can't remember where long, cause like you know how like you're trying to imagine like the time period, like
Hmm.
in the timeline. My timeline is just messy.
Well,
Cause
let's be honest. Everyone's timeline for the last 3 or 4 years is
I remember
messy.
telling my dad I was like I can't rap. This is terrible. I can't rap. Cause like every time I tried to like rhyme, I was like fat cat sat on the mat.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere. But I mean, you knew like was that again? It doesn't strike rapping doesn't come strike me as something that would come from you. And again, that's just coming from like first glance of looking at somebody. You're like, yeah, I'm looking at the 17-year-old white girl. She totally raps. Um,
So when I first did the fine arts rep solo, uh, I only just like I played on like my guitar.
mhm,
So I went up there with my guitar, which is not something you see rappers do. So I went up there with my guitar and I just like played like because most of the time when I write like raps it's only like a few chords,
mhm.
so it's like really simple chord progressions. So then I pretty much just that was the first time I was like rapping in front of my church too because at that point like no one knew that like I really like did music too.
Mhm.
So
You're blowing people's minds left and right, aren't
that
you?
was that was fun, but but also I was really nervous. But that performance went well. More, but what it went better than the songwriting one, which I showed you how horrible the
Yeah.
songwriting one's. Just a little bit of, like trauma to keep you humble.
Yeah, it is definitely keeping you humble. It is definitely keeping you humble. Yeah. But so you did this performance, but like you've continued to pursue it. Like, you're doing this at open mics. Um I saw your performance from when you were at Can Can.
Yeah.
And were you playing with like a recording at that point because you weren't with your guitar?
Oh, okay. So how I ended up at the Can Can is that my brother is a comedian. So
Okay.
so when Can Can started, my brother was kind of like there because he was trying to figure out how to do comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So he sort of like he went to start going to Can Can when it first opened up. So when like it's Big Mike G, which I'm sure you've heard his name.
I've heard Big
Yeah.
Mike G. I had Rhymacide on the show. I know about Big
Yeah.
Mike G.
Name dropping all over the place. Yeah, Big Mike G, which he's fantastic. He has like this he's just a cultivator of like platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So he made this fantastic platform at Can Can, which is where I met I ended up going there after my brother went to college. Well, I think we performed one time at the same time, but I started going there after my brother went to college. So then I ended up meeting Rhymacide, which Rhymacide he's kind of like my like knowledgeable uncle.
Mm-hmm.
He if you talk to him,
Oh yeah, no.
he is the music industry, but
Yeah, yeah, no. He's and he knows how to promote.
yes, he definitely does. He's really good at just building connections.
Mm-hmm.
He's just smart. So then I ended up because I wanted to. So here's the thing: is that when you go into certain places, you don't know exactly what type of crowd is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm walking in there with like a guitar and it's a crowd that uses like backtracks, then like I mean one time I performed at a place and then they just have like they had no mic or place to plug in my guitar, so like and like the mic stand was like super short because it was like it was a crowd that was mostly poets
Okay.
and mostly people
What
that
are
use
poets
backing.
short?
What? Well, they had like this. Okay, some people they had the mic stand. It
No,
was
I'm
like
just giving you a
the
hard
stick
time.
ones, the
Yes,
stick
no, no, I'm
ones,
totally giving you a hard time.
the stick ones that you
Yeah.
can't move around your guitar because like
Nope.
it's like
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, no, it's straight up and down. You don't have like
So I couldn't.
the
It
arm.
was outside. I couldn't plug in my guitar,
Oh.
and then like so then we decided. Oh, that's what happened. We put the microphone like right here between my vocals and my guitar,
Uh-huh.
and then like I was like crouching over and like playing my guitar into it. So then at that we decided that it would be smarter if I went and got backing tracks done because
Okay.
it's easier so you can take it to any platform.
That makes a lot of sense.
So then I went to go talk to Whodunit, and
Mm-hmm.
Whodunit, I love working with him just because I feel like when you have to go into certain places, when you work with like producers, you kind of have to like fight for what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's really cool because I feel like he just picks up on the vibe, so he
Mm-hmm.
already knows. I just kind of like, oh, here's the song, and then he makes the track. So it's been working out pretty well.
So are you now you're already working on I keep on saying working on, you've finished it.
There's
You're
still work to be done.
Oh, there's still work to be done. Okay, so you're in the final stages.
There you
There we go.
go.
Of album number 2 called Ribs. Um and so let's see. I want to make sure that I have enough time for this. Um Tell me about the process, like what went into writing that album as opposed to what you were doing with writing the first album. Because oddly enough, our albums came out because I have one out too. Yours came out uh, 3 days after mine,
What, the first one?
the first one.
Oh, that's so cool.
Well, I released mine on Bandcamp first, and then I had been starting to drop singles, but I released the whole album on Bandcamp first, and then released it like to
I'm
Spotify.
not sure. So wait, do you only have like one album
I
out
just
then?
have one,
Okay,
but I
because
was releasing
I was
singles.
listening to your music. I really like the track "Wake Up Dead Man."
Thank you.
I really love that track.
That one's been getting some play recently, thanks to
Wake up,
Facebook.
dead man.
Careful, I'll get you copyright. No, I don't have it copyrighted yet. That's a probably bad thing. I need
I
to
hope you
take care
make
of
some money.
that. I do too. That'd be nice. Um, no, but thank you. Um, but yeah, so I know what I was going through when I was writing that first album. What was it like for that first album, and what was it like for your second album?
So
I'm
I
making
can tell that they're two separate albums. So
so you got Heartbeat.
yeah, so I kind of consider Heartbeat a separate story because, well, Heartbeat was I ended up making an album. Okay, there's so much stuff I missed over.
No, no, so that's all right. That's all right. You got the
Maybe
time.
like we're gonna backtrack.
Let's backtrack. Let's backtrack. Let's talk about Heartbeat for a second,
Because
because then we'll then when we're done talking about Heartbeat, we'll listen to your two songs because they're new, which is
they're gonna
exciting.
be on the next album.
They're on the next album, so we'll use that as a transition to talk about the next album.
Okay, there we go. That's
All right,
smart.
so let's cycle back. Let's talk about Heartbeat.
Okay, so after I ended up doing the fine arts contest, that was like more of like the first time that like I stepped out and performed. So then what happened was that like later on in that year, I just really felt like I wanted to go out and perform again.
Mhm.
So I not looking back, I kind of see that was like more of like a leading from God, like
Mhm.
more of like I think the Holy Spirit more of just like guiding me when I say that like God walked hand in hand with me as I'm doing music. I really do mean that. Like I see God, I look back and I'm like, this is I see God in almost like every step that
Mhm.
I've been in. So what happened was I ended up going. I was like, so I saw a Square Cat vinyl on Facebook. So I was like, I'm gonna go do this. do you? I'm not sure. Have you been to Square Cat vinyl?
Oh, who hasn't been to Square Cat? Look at
Were
me
you
like,
there
have you
when like
been to?
they had like the really cool like monthly open mic? Like
No, I
it
hadn't.
was like
Actually,
a
I didn't
thing.
know.
It was like a thing.
Yeah,
So it was
that
crazy
was
because
pre-pandemic, wasn't it?
it was pre-pandemic. Things have
Yeah.
changed now.
Mhm.
But you've
Even the store.
yeah, the store is completely different. See, like back in 2019, it was like they have like this long room. You have like 50 people just like shoved inside this
Mhm.
small room, and there was like all these like big fish because these people are out here. They're recording music, they're putting out stuff, and like I'm just like this kid with a guitar walking in, and still doing like a lot of like stage nerves and stuff.
Mhm.
And then what happened was I ended up so I wrote a song to go like I said, like I write these songs to go perform. So I ended up writing this song called Heartbeat. And then I went and performed at this place. And then when I was on stage, I remember well, at that point I was kind of because like when you're doing the first stages, you're still like, you're discovering like, okay, how to sing. Because although I took lessons from my teacher, I'm not sure if I told you his name, Larry Baker, but he's like this like jazz guitarist. So that's who I was taking lessons from
Okay.
at the time. Well, I'm still taking lessons from him. I'm just taking a break right now.
Sure. No, that's
This
fine.
is just so
Yeah.
many different. But then I went to the open mic, and then when I was on stage, I kind of learned to focus like on the message and
Mhm.
on the lyrics, which is sort of like advice that my family was like really supporting me on. And so when I started focus on like the message and like singing every like line clearly to so I could be understood,
Mhm.
that's kind of what changed it. And at that point I was still doing with like a lot of like nerves and stuff. So at that point I couldn't like make eye contact with people like while
Sure.
I was on
Yeah. Yeah.
stage. So I
Mhm.
had like pick like a spot on the wall.
Oh, because they tell you to look in the crowd.
Well, the advice people give is terrible, honestly. I think the best way to do it is just by like doing it, but that
Oh,
was
yes. Well, yeah. No.
you'll learn by doing it.
Mhm.
So I don't think I even really understood what album was at that point.
Really.
Yeah, because I mean
It's
I
because you've
that
been grown up in the age of singles.
it's just scrolling on YouTube. I don't know. So then because it was a monthly open mic, so what I started doing was I started writing a song monthly.
Mhm.
So like I think probably wrote like four songs, three or four songs that are on Heartbeat are from that like section of time,
Oh,
which is
wow.
actually that open mic is hosted by Chris Wolf, which is
Mhm.
like I think is kind of like main reason why people are like flooding in there because he's such a fantastic host.
Mhm.
And he was, which if assume you've heard his music, but he's like this really comedic like really just comedic and sort of like salty type of humor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was so special during the time. And I'm kind of like weirded out now because like how did you get like 50 people in a room one night to play one song? Everybody's playing one song.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what happened was he invited me to come do a song on his radio. He was hosting a radio show at WQRT.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The Musical
So
Family
he
Tree
asked,
Channel.
yeah, so he asked me to send in a song, which is there's so many talented people there.
Mhm.
So which is to this day, I'm still not exactly sure why he picked me out of the bunch of people that he could have picked,
Sure.
which is so cool looking back. So that's kind of what made me go get in a studio because I tried to record my song just like me on my phone, and it sounded terrible. So we ended up going to the lodge.
Okay.
So that's where I ended up recording. I think like three songs at that point. So then that was it. So he's kind of the reason why I got into the studio. Chris Wolf inviting me.
Mhm.
So then I ascended to radio, which is a really fun experience. And let's see, after that, What happened?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't there, but
2020 happened.
in
That's what
2020.
2020 happened. Because that was 2019. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, done pretty part of the story. So, I I ended up getting like later on during like 2020 because like big time jump, Square Cat Vinyl is not happening right now. So I got invited to like do something at like my church, and this situation kind of happened,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a good experience. But this experience happened,
Okay.
and I kind of just sort of went into like a spiral of just like anxiety
Oh no.
over like the next like few months, and it wasn't I think it was until like 2021 like February,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of like I hadn't realized that how much anxiety I was dealing with, and
Oh,
all sort of all this stuff that transpired because of this situation I got into with the church, and sort of like reevaluating like almost all these things,
sure.
and then
I take it a lot of the songs were kind of born out of that experience.
yeah,
I can
so
tell that
I mean
I mean listening to it, you can hear that there's you're calling some people out. Not by
no
name,
no
not by name, but
I think it's calling the problems out. I'm not
yeah.
gonna say people, because I think, which I'm you've heard the raps on there
Yeah.
and sort of like the songs, and which I wrote about like anxiety a lot in the first album. So so I kind of like went through this entire thing where I was like, I didn't think it was normal for me to just feel terrible all the time. Like I was
Mm.
just kind of like just living in it, and I
Mhm.
was just having like emotional breakdowns like every day. And because if you're just like walking around carrying all your emotions inside,
Mhm.
like what do you think's gonna happen? Like you're just
Oh,
gonna have
eventually you're
like
gonna break.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I get
so,
it.
so then so fine arts came around again because it's a yearly thing.
Mhm.
So it's like this thing that we've always like did since I did it like the first year. So then I remember I just had so much like I think I'm looking back and maybe I'm saying like maybe like a panic attack, but I was just like I was stressing out so much about this fact because like my mom was asking me like, okay, we're gonna like start working on doing practicing for this fine arts competition, which
Mhm.
is something we've always done, and then I just had so much uh nervousness over getting like on the stage again, and I hadn't realized all this anxiety that I had like built up in my
Mm.
life,
Mhm.
and so then we ended up getting like this big fight. I can't remember what the fight was about now because it wasn't about anything.
Sure. No, no, that's what happens, right?
I mean, you have a big family, so it's just like
Yeah.
so. And then she was like, "Well, why are you so mad, anyways?" And I remember I was like, "Well, I'm mad about what happened yesterday when you said this about like going to this contest thing.
Mhm.
When I finally speak what I'm actually thinking."
Mhm.
And then she was like, "Wait, what?
Mhm.
Like you're nervous about like getting back up on stage, getting on stage?" And then like that's kind of weird because I was kind of when I was doing like Square Cat, I was like, all right, let's go, we're gonna go. you
Yeah.
know I was really excited about being around these type of things. So we ended up going to Books and Brews actually,
Mhm.
because we kind of decided that like, okay, well, to get over this anxiety thing and sort of how I've just been like keeping everything aside, because that was the first time like I actually like spoke about it,
Mhm.
and then I sort of like looked back and I realized like, oh, there's all this stuff that happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't blame my parents because I mean, no one knew. I didn't even know.
No, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
just happened. So
Mhm.
I went to like Books and Brews
Is that when
because
you first met Joe?
yeah, I mean, at that point, I wasn't talking to anyone. I mean, I was
Yeah.
I was nervous
Mhm. Yeah.
because I didn't realize that you could like talk to other musicians in the room. So it was more of like went in there and then like I went to the back of the room because
I see if it would be me, if it was me, I would totally do the same thing. I mean, I don't let the podcast fool you. I'm an introvert by nature, and I am much rather be a wallflower. And so, unless I'm on the bill, chances are I'm not talking to anybody. it's I'm lucky I'm even gotten this far.
yeah.
So I totally get where you're coming from.
hmm
Yeah.
So I I ended up going to the open mics there, and that's kind of like how I ended up writing the rest of these songs, which is kind of so I ended up writing the rest of the songs that are on Heartbeat, and we decided to go record them because I actually ended up getting a show there, my first show, and So we decided that we're gonna record a CD so
Mm-hmm.
I could have something to sell at the show.
Mm-hmm.
So let me think. I'm trying to decide where to go next.
Well, what was the writing? I mean, you kind of addressed a bit of the writing process. What was the recording process like for you with that one? Is that something you said you recorded at the lodge? Um, what was it like for you initially to kind of go into the studio that first time?
Well, I didn't know anything.
Well, no one does. The first time, no one knows. No, no, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get
This is me
that.
telling everything about the first album. I had no idea what I was doing.
Sure, sure. I think that explains everybody.
So I ended up going to the studio, and then it was just like me and my guitar. It's not looking like now. I kind of it's more of like a demo album, like because it's
Sure.
just
Well,
me
yeah,
and
it's
like
because
my
it's
acoustics.
yeah.
So Morgan, who is the sound engineer there,
Hmm.
I ended up just really liking him because here's the thing. I was like I said, I didn't know anything. So then he kind of just like walked me through like the entire step of the process, and he was like way more patient than he had to be because like sorry, we're paying you like by the hour, like you don't
Hmm.
need to.
Yeah.
But it showed that that's really important when having a sound engineer or someone that's making your music is that they care.
Hmm.
So that's the reason why we ended up. So we actually followed him over to Postal.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because I enjoyed working with him.
Hmm.
So now he's mixing my second album.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break. Wrong camera. Sorry. Did that? Anyway, we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna listen to a couple of Anna's tracks. What are the songs that you are performing tonight?
Blood related and unbroken.
Blood Related and Unbroken. These will be appearing on Anna's new album, Ribs, which will be coming out next month?
Yes.
Maybe. Uh Hopefully. And she has an event going on with it, so we're going to talk
Yes.
about that too. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back after this.
High heels in a black dress. Kids outside the door puffing cigarettes. Self-centered preacher couldn't care less. Cramped pews and tall cedar wood ceiling. Dead silence when they ask for testimony. Everybody's gone by the time they read the eulogy. Feels like a joke, but I'm not laughing. No, I'm not laughing. And whoa, 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 whoa. I saw where I came from in a room full of strangers who wish the only thing I share in common with is blood. And they say hate is tough, but seem to forget. So is love. So is love. Gossip in the parking lot as they drink whiskey from a Dixie cup. I'm stone cold when I walk out. Maybe 'cause I already know these won't be the people weeping when I go. Wanna be with me when I'm high, but nobody when I'm low. So don't tell me it runs in the family, 'cause it won't with me. This I can guarantee, this apple's falling far from the tree. And whoa, whoa, whoa. I saw where I came from in a room full of strangers. they say hate is taught but seem to forget. So is love. So is love. And I can't help how I grew up. There's no denying where I came from. Can't help what runs in my blood. Oh, but I can break this mentality, expectation of who I'm supposed to be. Stories I am rewriting history, legacy, what I carry and what I will leave. And I saw where I came from in a room full of strangers. Oh, it's the only thing I share in common with is blood. And they say hate is taught but seem to forget. So is love. So is love. Oh, you don't understand, no. You don't understand, no. Oh. 'Cause in this here body lies a broken man. This here body lies a broken man. Oh, and you don't understand the objects these eyes have looked upon, or the deeds I've done. 'Cause if you did, you would offer me hate instead of love. Oh, and you don't understand the thoughts this mind has thought, or the paths I sought. 'Cause if you did, you would already be gone. Oh, and you don't understand, no. You don't understand, no. Oh. 'Cause in this here body lies a broken man. This here body lies a broken man. 'Cause I've been stripped of my dignity, prayed on my knees so hard that I bleed. My cup is filthy on the inside as the outside. I cried, my eyes dried. Meanwhile, the devil panted like a dog over my own demise. I was barked with a fake sign, a rundown building which no one would wish to reside. I was running down a track in the shape of a question mark. My stolen innocence, my hands stained with sin, my accursed fallacies, my desires consuming my mind and plaguing my being, plaguing my being. Oh, and a crooked lines climbing up a thorny vine, waiting for the right time like it's gonna smack me in the face. I've been running but staying in the same low place, looking for a way out of this labyrinth, looking at the world with shattered lenses, act a victim of circumstances. My excuses, I was young and I didn't know, but now I'm getting old, and at some point I'ma have to be responsible for the things that I've done wrong. I've done wrong, yeah. And you don't understand, no. You don't understand, no. Oh. 'Cause in this here body lies a broken man. This here body lies a broken man. But do you know how to heal a broken man? With these crooked ways and these shattered lenses. Oh, and Lord, aren't you the storyteller? 'Cause the way this story's going, sometimes I don't know anymore. Yeah, I don't know many things, but I know that you are good. Oh, in the way it twists and it turns, it seems so out of control. So into your hands it goes. You alone can heal this broken man. I think I'm finally starting to understand.
And welcome back. This is Josh Gillespie with Anna Owens. We just heard a couple of great tracks from Anna that will be on her upcoming album Ribs, which comes out next month, hopefully. No pressure at all. So let's talk about these songs real quick. What what went into Blood Related? What's the story there?
So blood related. So still like the same time period where I'm like doing like the open mic at like Books
Mm-hmm.
and Brews. So I ended up going to my father's cousin, which I believe makes her my aunt. So I'm gonna say aunt.
Okay.
My aunt's funeral, and she really did pass away too young.
Hmm.
But I ended up going to this funeral, and that was like more of my first time just being around my relatives on, well, my actual like distant relatives
Mm-hmm.
on my father's side, and that was, I felt like such a disconnect while I was there. And the funeral was just so strange because I haven't been to like too many funerals. Like when I did, it was like when I was younger, so I wasn't like really like,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. So I ended up going to this funeral, and I felt such a disconnect from these people who I felt like, they were my family,
Mm-hmm.
but then I didn't feel like an attachment to how their culture and sort of the things that were happening. And I remember I was looking back at my family, and I realized that there was something different.
Hmm.
So I realized that there was these messed up things that happened,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously our family's not where we're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But then I looked back at my family and I thought, but there's change.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that God's doing something new, and there's because people something people always talk about is they always talk about like generation
Mm-hmm.
like curses,
Mm-hmm.
and they talk about how sin like gets like passed down from
Mm-hmm.
generation to generation, and sort of like how people just keep on excusing what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of something happens when you look back and you choose to forgive what the past things that happened, and
Mm-hmm.
start thinking about, well, how can we change this?
Yeah.
And that's sort of what the song's like based off of.
Wow. See, you are coming up with some deep stuff for a 17-year-old. Yeah, you were younger when you wrote that, weren't you?
I don't know how old I was.
Yeah, it's because it all runs together.
Yeah, it all runs together.
um, and so Blood Related was the first one. The second one was again
Unbroken.
Unbroken. Where does Unbroken come from?
I can't remember. I remember like the writing process, because I almost not like, because some songs like they have specific like scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them are just more of like based on like thoughts. Because I remember like sitting down and like just writing it like when I was like at the Irving Theater, because like I wasn't writing it there, but I just remember like before I was about to go on stage, I remember like sort of having like this like jumbled like mess of lyrics,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that one was more of like God just giving me it because
Mm-hmm.
that was, I mean, I wrote about shame and sort of I guess the realization of like your own brokenness and your unworthiness and how only like God is worthy. So that's what the song is based off
Wow. Really, you really dive deep into a lot of heavy stuff. I mean, again, for I just don't think that people would expect that coming from you. I think again, you come up as far more mature in your lyrics um, than than I honestly than I would expect. Again, I say that I try to put that in a nice way. I mean, again, when it's that I think it must be something about homeschooled kids. My 17-year-old, who apparently um, uh, but she writes from a, from a and communicates from a like just a different perspective than I think people of that age would expect. And I think that speaks well of the individual. So so all that is to say is that I am thoroughly impressed
oh.
with how you come across in your lyrics and what you're really trying to pursue with those. Because when I think of, and I don't know how you label your music, um, I because I if like it's not what I would call typical. I'm gonna use air quotes here because it's a label, not a thing. Christian music.
Oh.
Um,
God, if you
it
don't say that, you're
no 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 no. It's not that I can't say it. It's just that to me it's a label.
Mhm.
It's not.
No, I understand.
Yeah, it can't be redeemed.
Mhm.
Um, so as typically what I hear and see coming from that particular genre of music, it's not what I'm hearing from you. And I say that as a compliment and as a positive. Like you're really addressing some deep issues, whether it's personal or however you're approaching it. You're coming at it from a different perspective and addressing these in a way that I think that most people wouldn't expect. But it's good. It's really good. Um, so I encourage you to keep on doing that. So again, like I said, I don't know how you particularly label it, but if that is the 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 genre that that you are choosing, then we need more of that stuff, more of your stuff coming out of
Oh.
that genre. So, um, I mean, I'm currently working on my second album.
Whoop
Um,
whoop.
thank you. And it's an album that deals with faith and depression. Um, Not just my what I was going through, but what as what kind of ravaged my family for a while. Um, and it really kind of plays out not as what you would probably expect from well, I don't call it a Christian album at all. I don't call
Yeah,
it Christian music.
I get that.
Um, but it definitely has, faith elements to it that are jarring. I think that,
Mhm.
maybe I might market it as such, just to see what happens. Um, but it's definitely not something that you would expect. And so I think we need more of that.
Mhm.
So,
So, first of all, those are really nice things you
oh,
said.
thank you.
Yeah, I think I kind of, well, I think I just sort of come to a place where I've like realized that like if you have ability or you have gift or you've had talents or if you have knowledge, like it just all comes from God.
Hmm.
And the music I know, the music I have, I know it comes from God, so like it belongs to Him.
Hmm.
So which has been such a different standard to have.
Hmm.
And I think what something that helped me realize is that Christ is in you. So like even if I were to like write a song like about pancakes, like
Hmm.
it would be from like the perspective of somebody who knows Christ, who
Hmm.
knows Jesus, and it's more of, I think there's just gonna be like this new wave of like authenticity,
Mhm.
and it's not gonna be coming up from under these labels like you're talking about, like with the Christian music,
Mhm.
which is that CCM, like that's which I'm not sure if you've seen like these movies that have been coming out, but like there's been like a lot of talk about like the Jesus Revolution and
Mhm.
like this sort of like there's like this entire like wave of music that came up during this time. I think there's gonna be a new wave, but I think this wave is gonna be really authentic, holy people
Mhm.
and people that are after God's heart and will, and also being like really talented and like being really just skilled artists.
Mhm.
And I've personally seen it like in Indianapolis. I've seen people like it's like God sends out these like little waves and like of inspiration out to people,
Hmm.
and then it's like who picks it up
Yeah.
and who's listening, who's creating. And I think it's been so cool to see. Well, I mean, I picked up on your music too. I think because like the Wake Up Dead Man, which was such a cool track because there was somebody at Sound Space, and like we ended up performing at like the same evening,
Mhm.
and I sang a song called Rattling, which is sort of like ran about the same passage of scripture,
Mhm.
and like he ended up singing like a song which I had no idea he was a believer. He
Mhm.
ended up singing a song about like these dry bones coming to life, and then
Mhm.
you have this song called Wake Up Dead Man. I was like, this is so cool because like, I mean, we don't really know each other,
Yeah.
but then yet we still have some sort of like same like wave of like inspiration.
Mhm.
It's just I think it just kind of like it really weirds you out too because sometimes like you go back and you listen to people and then like that kind of happened to me when I found like Josh Girls.
Oh,
Like
I love Josh Garrels.
he has like this one song, I think it's called like Decision,
Mhm.
and I was like I heard it and I was like this sounds like something I could have like wrote.
Mhm.
And it really
And he
like
throws in the rapping too occasionally.
yeah,
At least some of his older
the
stuff.
folk rap, it's really
Yeah, folk
cool.
rap. Yeah.
He's really cool. I've discovered him after I was already like doing music. But then it kind of like weirded me out too cuz I was like it's kind of weird how like we have like the similar like stuff going on like the imagery that we're using,
Mhm.
and it's just like well no it's like the same spirit that's inspiring this artwork,
Yeah.
so it makes sense that we would like have similar sounds or similar
Mhm.
because it's like this new thing that God's doing,
Yeah.
so it's
Are you
cool.
familiar with the artist Propaganda?
What?
Are,
Art of the propaganda?
there's the hip hop artist Propaganda.
No.
Oh, you should totally check him out.
Yeah,
Not
is he?
like for serious.
Yeah.
You totally should. Um, saw him. I'm a huge fan of his, and he's had like an impact on me politically, spiritually. A lot of different ways of how I see things. Um, and I recommend him to almost anybody who I could. I mean, I was fortunate enough to see him live a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, um, at the Hi-Fi, and it was an
Ooh,
awesome show.
that's cool.
It was an awesome show. Anyway, I think it was 2019 is when I saw him. So he doesn't make many stops because he's from the West Coast. Um, so he doesn't make a whole lot of Midwest stops, but when he does, I try to make sure that I can see him. But I would heartily suggest checking him out. I mean, he's more of a lyrical poet in some regards. I mean, there's some that's just like straight up rapping, but in also many guys, he does kind of like a spoken word kind of thing.
Mm.
Um, and he's just phenomenal, and he's very authentic. And I mean, he talks about race, religion, and everything in between. So he's fascinating. Um, he also has a pretty cool podcast called Hood Politics.
That
Um,
sounds like a cool name.
yeah, it totally is. It totally is. And he's huge into coffee. Loves coffee. Like that's his like if he wasn't a rapper, he'd probably be selling coffee. He loves coffee. But totally check him out. Um, but yeah, I guess I look more for this authenticity. Um, especially from a genre that claims to be about authenticity in general.
Hmm.
When a lot of it just feels so fake and forced
Yeah.
and formulaic.
Yeah, that's just something I've seen too. Cause, well, I mean, I'm not gonna like trash it because I don't think everything's like, yeah,
Not
like you said, like
everything.
everything's like a genre. Like we're talking about the country music. Like
Yeah, no, I know.
even still, like there's good things that like I listened to when I was like a kid. But like there's yeah, like sort of like this. I guess this thing how we think we should be reacting
hmm
when really maybe we should be truthful and let Jesus speak.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you.
And also, I think some at some points is like this person sounds so good that they can't be Christian. Like, you know that this person's probably doing things behind the scenes. Are they like
I, that's what's terrible is that it's like is someone. I mean, again, I'm going to use the air quotes. Christian music is so bad that if someone is so good that it's like, oh no, that can't be legit. No,
Yeah.
that's not real.
Yeah, because the thing is like, well, I think that's what like I so desire is that the the people that they are in private, like really are pursuing holiness and really are pursuing God, and then when they walk out on stage, it's just like I feel like it should just be different.
Hmm.
Like the way that we do music should be. We serve a God that's like great and awesome. Like our music should be like reflecting the same.
Thank you. Thank you. So speaking of reflecting that sameness, we were talking a little bit between the break, that on Ribs, you were playing with a band this time.
Yeah.
So what's that been like for you?
Oh, this is like so. I ended up meeting them again at Books and Brews. At Books and Brews, this is a shout out to the establishment.
Oh, sure. Why not? Do it. Do it.
But I ended up meeting them at Books and Brews because at that point I was looking to figure out how to play with other people
Hmm.
because I mean I just been going to open mics and just playing and well I think I've done a couple of shows at that point too.
Hmm.
But I was just out there doing some my own original songs on guitar.
Hmm.
And something kind of happened with like my first show that I did where I did a ton of covers at my first show.
Hmm.
And then something just happened where I realized that I don't relate to any of this stuff, the stuff that I was singing.
Hmm.
And I was singing someone else's story, not the story that God was giving me. So I just kind of was like, I want to sing my originals. So that's what I was doing. I was out there singing my originals at like open mics.
Good for
And
you.
oh, thank you.
That's what I mean, I feel like that's what open mic should be for anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's more interesting to hear about people's personal.
Hmm.
I mean, I personally prefer like hearing people's originals and
Hmm.
if they have them.
Yes. No, exactly. Yeah.
So then I wanted to learn how to play with other people because I felt like that was something I was like really missing, like in just like my general
Hmm.
musicianship is that I need to know how to play with other people. That's kind of important.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah.
So they had like an open jam there like every Monday. I think it's changed like every first Monday. They still host it. So I ended up going there, and then the night that I came in, apparently like I'd only been like a couple times before then, but I was really going because I was like I need to learn how to play with other people
Hmm.
and see what they're doing to, work with each other. So when the night I came in, this particular night, they had like nearly no one there. So it
Hmm.
was just like them and like maybe two other musicians.
Hmm.
So then it was like a really like lonely night. And then they were like, "Okay, well, do you want to come up here and like play some songs?" And I was like, "Sure," because I was only playing originals.
Yeah.
I wasn't really doing covers, and I
Yeah.
don't really know covers that well.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Can I play my originals?" And they were like, "Yes," because they like hearing that stuff too.
All right, cool.
So then I started to play, I think like 3 different songs, and they just like picked it up like right away.
Very
A
cool.
couple timing issues because I had no timing
Oh.
because I don't play with other people.
That'll happen.
Where they like all shot me like a couple of confused looks because they're like, this is like bar is going on way too long. We don't understand what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it.
But then it was like I don't even know how we got here to making an album because like it kind of like straight up like snowballed.
That's so
Like,
cool though.
because like we were like, okay, well this is like really special.
Hmm.
They like what they're putting on my music that evening that we were together.
Hmm.
So we talked about like re-recording like 3 off of my old album.
Really?
Yeah, so we picked like 3 off of my old album, which is going to be Working Hands, Like a Child, and False Prophet. So those 3 songs are getting like re-recorded.
Okay.
So which they are re-recorded, but they're going to be released.
Sure. Yeah.
So then I can't remember at what point we decided that we're making a 15-track album.
15 tracks. Wow. That's
a lot of work has gone into this album, but they've been Forever Young. It's just special.
Mhm.
Like when I talk about like gifts straight from above, like that was like Forever Young, because I mean they've really. Like, what point did I meet them? Like they've known me for a little bit at this point, so then like I feel like I've kind of like they've kind of been like I guess more of my mentors because like they were just so like warm and welcoming while I was still learning.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, like I said, like when you walk into places, you expect to have to like protect your art.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I think they were looking how to build onto it,
Yeah,
and they
that's what you
weren't,
want.
and they were at the same time just being like careful.
Yeah.
Like this is like let's keep this into its original intent, which I'm like that, but I don't expect anyone else to be like that.
Sure.
But so it was just like a really special creating process. They've been so creative, like they come up like this pretty crazy stuff. I don't know. So
And you're performing with them like at
April
your
28th, yeah.
at the Rick Center.
Yeah.
I got that right?
HJ Rick's I should know this. HJ Rick's Center of the Arts in Greenfield.
In Greenfield. That's the official album release party.
Yes, I'm super excited.
So how did that come about?
So I can't remember at what point I was like, I need to have an album release show. So it's kind of weird that it's happening now because it feels like a really far off dream because that was like I've had this idea for like sitting on me for like through the entire process of making an album. Like we need to just like have like a show at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
So which my parents we were looking for like the venue. So
Mhm.
then they ended up finding that place. And then when we went in there, it was like this is the place.
Nice. Yeah. I've been there. It's a pretty neat place.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like it's a perfect number and I'm both excited, a little bit nervous because it's going to be the show where I'm inviting people I've always wanted to like invite them to a show.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like a really like I think it's gonna be a really strange mixture of people, but then it's gonna be people that I really love.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's gonna be I don't know, it's gonna be fantastic.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's
And
at 7.
at that's good. Good. Look at the camera. Tell 7 at the Rick Center.
Come now.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Doors open at 6:30.
Doors. Very nice. Very nice. See, you're becoming an old pro at this.
I
All
was
right.
watching you. I was watching you.
No. I do shameless self-promotion. That's what I get into. Gosh, we've covered so much, Anna, and I thank you so much for being on. But before I let you go, I have to do what if you've watched an entire show, I have to do my plug. For the Engine Room Recording Company, which is where it's okay, I didn't need that anyway. It's for those of you watching at home, I have this little controller that helps me switch between cameras, and as you can tell, I do it so very well. The Engine Room Recording Company, they are located in Broad Ripple Village, just north of downtown Indianapolis, and they specialize in making your projects go. Podcasters, bands, audio bookers, rappers, singers, songwriters, and everyone in between, the Engine Room Recording Company has the experience, the engineers, the equipment, and the environment to fuel your projects. Check out Broad Ripple's recording studio by visiting for more information on our services, artists they've recorded, and gear they have at engineroomrecordingcompany.com. And be sure to visit their Instagram page by searching up at Engine Room Recording Company. And again, Engine Room is where we do this show. Engine Room is where I'm recording my album. Engine Room is where Anna should record her next album. So much is going on at the Engine Room. Seriously, check them out. I'll go back to this. Anna, what have we missed anything before I drop this again? I feel like we've only scratched the surface, honestly, with you. But I mean, is there anything else that you would like to mention before we come to a close of the show?
Come to the show.
Come to the show. Come to the show. HJ Rick Center, April 28th.
Yes.
Doors open at 6:30.
Show starts at 7.
Show starts at 7. You and Forever Young.
Oh, register at Eventbrite. That's important.
Oh, yes. But it's a free show.
It's a free show.
It's a free show.
I want everyone to come.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
You had to come.
I will try to make it, actually. No, I mean it. I mean, seriously.
No,
there are a
you
bunch
and
of
your
local
family should
shows.
come. I'm
Yes.
super excited.
There are a bunch of local shows that I need to be checking out here this next month. Goodness. Huxley, band who does recording here. They have.
I think I know Huxley.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I met them, but I think I follow them on Instagram.
You should. Absolutely, you should be following them on Instagram. Huxley is a great band. They came out with a release, a cover of Taylor Swift's. Well, dang, I forget the name of the track, but they came out with a Taylor Swift cover, and it's pretty killer. It's a song from her new album. And Huxley has an album release party coming up in April. Emma Peridot has a show. A previous guest has a show coming up on April 1st at the Hi-Fi with Elise Trow, which should be an amazing show. I have a show coming up at the Melody May 7th with November Swim Club in Vantablack. Just throwing that out there. Put it on your calendar. May 7th. But that's not April. Anyway, so lots of fun things are coming up. So Anna, thank you for being on the show this week.
Thank
I really
you.
do appreciate
No,
it.
thank you.
You've been a fantastic guest. I am really excited to hear Ribs come out. And we'll have to check you out at the live show.
Yes.
All right. That's going to do it for me. That's going to do it for Anna. Tune in next week. My guest is going to be St. Aubin. He just recently came out with a new 6-track EP earlier this month. It's going to be a blast having him on and talking about that. So that's going to do it for us. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again next week. Bye.